TV. We welcome you to this platform as we are welcoming the Sabbath for all these holy hours. God has set them aside so that you and me, we can worship and learn more about His kingdom. We have got a very good privilege tonight as we have our special guest, Elder Mashiri, who is going to be leading us as we are going to dig into the scriptures, especially with the prophecies that we're about to study. You know, for the past couple of weeks, we had a series of studies about the prophecies. And today, we've got a very interesting subject, which is Revelation chapter 17. But before we do anything else, let's welcome Elder Mashiri to this platform. Welcome, Elder.
Thank you, Pastor.
We are so delighted to have you here.
And blessed Sabbath to the viewers and listeners.
Amen. Amen. And Elder, you've been leading us in prophecy for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And today, as we're going to dig into Revelation chapter 17, you know, there's so many speculations about this subject. Are you ready for it tonight?
Well, may the grace of the Lord guide me.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. And brethren, as you head for yourselves, grab your pen and paper, grab your tablets, grab your iPads. Let's sit together and dig into the scriptures together to trace line upon line and precept upon precept, so that we have got the prophecies in our hands and in our heads.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, Revelation chapter 17, Elder.
Right.
What do you have to say before we start?
Well, there's a lot of speculations.
Mm-hmm.
And for you to understand Revelation 17, you have to come from Revelation 13.
That's right.
Because these are interlinked. That's why when we are bringing here a world map,
Mm-hmm.
it's a continuation from Daniel
That's right.
and Revelation 13 and Revelation 17. So they bring us what has been happening before,
Mm-hmm.
and what is future
Future
to us.
to us.
So with this world map, it starts here, you see, on creation.
Okay.
This ball here is the earth. That's creation. So in the Adamic world, which was destroyed by the flood, you see this.
Right.
And also, we go to Babylonian Empire, we go to the Medo-Persian, and after that we go to Greece.
This is Daniel chapter 7.
This is
isn't it?
Daniel chapter 7.
Yeah.
And then after that we go to the Roman Empire, which is in two stages. It was Imperial Rome and Papal Rome. Those are the two stages of the Roman Empire. And then we go to Revelation 13.
Mm.
And then after Revelation 13, it's got two sections. The very first section from Revelation 13, verse 1 up to 10, where it's describing about these seven heads. This beast on Revelation 13 is the other one which needs more understanding, because most people just take it to be the same which was in the Roman Empire.
Mm.
But this is a different one. It's a complex one because it's got 10 horns together with 7 heads, together with the body.
Okay.
And the body actually should be a leopard-like, which spotted ones.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a lot of explanation on that color.
That's right.
And then we have got the legs of the bear. So you can see this complex beast is taking all these other beasts
into one pot.
into one pot.
Mm.
Where does it take the lion? It's got a face of a lion in Revelation 13.
That's right.
It says it's got a face of a lion. That's the first complex.
Mm-hmm.
And then where does it take the bear? It's
So
got the
feet of a bear.
feet of a bear. And where does it take the spotted leopard? It's got a leopard-like a body.
Hmm.
Where does it take Imperial Rome and Papal Rome? It's got these 10 horns.
Okay.
So it's a complex one. And then in addition to it, we now see there are seven heads, 7 being a symbol of completeness.
Mm.
Because the week is complete with 7 days, is it?
That's right.
7 is a completeness sign. So when the heads are 7, so it means it's complete Christendom.
Okay.
Whether it's got several names, Christendom, sects divided, but God divided them and said it's 7.
It's 7.
7 means complete. They are all divided. They are not all of one faith.
Yeah.
they are all of different faiths,
But all are Christians.
but all call themselves Christians,
That's right.
reading the same Bible, but different
Beliefs.
in beliefs. So it's coming as 7 heads, because one of them had a wound,
Yeah.
and we see this wound was caused by Martin Luther
With the Reformation.
with the Reformation.
That's right.
It says so in the Great Controversy. When he brought the Reformation, he's the one who started Reformation.
That's right.
From what it was in the Roman Empire. So that Reformation, the sword, the wound was inflicted by a sword
Of Reformation.
The
Okay.
sword is the word.
All right.
So this is why one of the head has got a wound, but these other heads, 6 of them have no wound. So it means no reformation occurred to them.
Okay.
But at this stage of this beast, we find one of them had a reformation which occurred in its religion, which is the Roman Empire. We know what happened in Papa Rome. That is the reformation which is on these 7 heads.
Okay.
And the 7 heads, one of them is wounded. And the wounded one, we know it is the sword, which was by the first reformer, which was with Martin Luther.
Yes.
And that is the inflicting of the wound. And now, at this time, they're saying the wound had healed.
I was going to ask you that, because yes,
Yeah.
it says that.
It says so in
prophecy.
Revelation 13, and the wound had healed.
Yes.
So
what does
this
that
wound-
mean?
It means the reformation stopped. Simple.
Okay.
Because what was inflicting the wound is
It
the
was
sword.
Reformation.
It was the sword. And what is the sword in the Bible? It's the word of God.
Yeah.
So the word of God was inflicting. So this time the wound is healed, meaning all these 7 systems, the Christian systems, all of them 7,
They're polluted.
they all are not reforming. They all have assumed what the Reformation, what the Dark Ages had inflicted on the religious system.
Yeah.
Changed times and laws in Daniel chapter 7 verse 25. But those times and laws are still continuing. So the wound is healed. The wound is healed.
Okay.
So on who? On the 7 systems. On the complete Christendom, the wound is healed.
It's healed.
This is what God is just communicating on Revelation 13. But then the 10 horns, we saw these 10 horns emanating on there where it said 10 sections here, Ruli, Ostrogoths, Vandals, Visigoths. All these came up in the Roman Empire, in Imperial Rome. They're still there. Yeah?
Okay.
And here in the Papa Rome chapter, Daniel chapter 7, verse 9, verse 8 says the mouth was speaking things. Yeah? The mouth, it had eyes.
The little one. Yeah.
Yeah. So we still have that, but in form of a lion. You understand?
So it's just a continuation.
It's just a continuation. That's why I say it's a complex beast. It's got all these systems, all of them in there. It is in our time right now.
Okay.
But we are going to this one.
Which one is this one?
This one is Revelation 13, verse 11.
Okay, going down.
It's the
okay.
2-horned beast.
Okay.
This one is only when the 4 winds of Revelation 7, verse 1 have been released. We are just entering into it.
Oh.
This is now the future where we have a land or a nation which will take possession of religious things. But you see there, it's got an image of the first beast.
So which one is the first one?
The first
This
one,
that
which was here
Okay.
in the Papa Rome, that's the first bit, which is in Daniel 7 verse 8, was changing times and laws.
Okay.
And this one also will change these times and laws.
Okay.
But what times does that one assume? The times that were there. So we are seeing at this time, these 7 heads, they have not changed the times back to what the Bible says. They still assume, because the wound has healed, so they still assume these times which were introduced in the Dark Ages. But this one now will come and have the image of that first beast. What did the first beast do? Change times and laws. So this one will enforce those times. So the times are coming, and when we are talking about 666, this one is the one
that is going to bring
that's going to, because it was introduced already in the Dark Ages. Okay. So this one will compel people to worship on one day, which is Sunday, and also to keep all these times that were introduced in the Dark Ages.
So, Elder, am I right to think, because you said one of the wounds from these heads was inflicted by Reformation, which was caused by Martin Luther?
Yeah.
If the wound is healed, it simply means all Christendom has taken the customs.
They've gone back there.
Wow.
Though they call themselves with different sects. This is the reason why they've got different sects, because each one just believes what they did.
Anything.
Yeah, because you can see in Isaiah chapter 4.
Chapter 4.
In chapter 4. Verse 1.
Isaiah chapter 4 from the first verse.
From the first verse.
All right. It says, and in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man.
Still the number 7 is there, you see?
Yes.
Here we have 7 heads. But here is now, the churches are being presented as women.
As women.
And we know the woman is a church.
Is a church, yes.
So these are 7 women now instead of 7 heads. There are 7 women there. In that day, what do they say?
They say, we'll eat our own bread.
Right.
And wear our own apparel.
Right.
Only let us be called by thy name.
Right.
To take away our reproach.
So which name is that? It's the Christian name.
Oh.
That's the men that they are taking the name from. But we will eat our own
bread.
Interpretations.
And
wear our own holiness. Each of them, in different sects, they tell you that we are holy.
That's true.
This is the holy church. This is a holy church. But what do they preach inside? Their own interpretations, which are not in the Bible. In that day, this is the scenario. Because if this is not true, why would they use the same Bible and different interpretations?
Yes,
So that's exactly a clear explanation of why they are having different sects.
Beliefs.
It's because in that day they eat their own interpretations. They wear their own holiness. Their apparel is the holiness. So, but in the same next verse, let's read.
Verse 2.
Right.
In that day shall the branch of the Lord be beautiful.
So in the same day when they have different sects and different interpretation, but there is an interpretation coming from the branch of the Lord. So Christ had already now assumed the name branch. From 1844, when you read in Great Controversy, you find he assumed this name, which is in Zechariah chapter 6, verse 12. You find there is a man now. That man who they were saying will eat our own bread. That's the same man. Listen to that.
Verse 12.
Right.
And speak unto him, saying, That speaketh the Lord of hosts, saying, Behold the man.
Right. So you see the men where they're taking their own apparel, eating their own bread, that's that man, that very man. Zechariah 6 tells you that man. Let's hear. Let's hear that.
And he shall grow up out of his place.
Right.
And he shall build the temple of the Lord. Even he shall build the temple of the Lord.
Right. So in that day, when they are having different sects, the man whose name is what?
The branch.
The branch. So Isaiah chapter 4 told us that when they are eating their own bread, but that same day, the branch of the Lord will be beautiful. What is Isaiah talking about? So here we are seeing in Zechariah chapter 6 verse 12, in that same day, this man called the branch will build the temple, will build a following who are sealed by branch principles. And what are the branch principles? Of eating all these times that were changed,
that were trodden underfoot,
putting them back. That's the branch of the Lord.
So it's a separate sect from this. It's a separate people. It's a separate head from this.
It could be coming from the same, because like it is, when you go to Isaiah, the very same Isaiah, it says the very temple is now the house of God.
That's right.
So it comes, when you see the sealing process, starts with the house of the Lord first. So that's where the branch should take people from. The people come from the house of God, which are being sealed. In that same day, they are the ones now to take all these times which were blotted in the dark ages. They are the ones now to get the seal in this time of the leopard-like beast, so that when this man starts the 666 to enforce those times, those who are already sealed, we have already taken those times back, will never be fooled by this two-horned beast.
All right.
So you understand the
I
prophecies
do.
very well.
I do.
Now, when you read the prophecy in conjunction of the world history of what is happening, then it gives you what is called wisdom. Because these times, why would the beast in the dark ages target the times? They are the ones that identify you with the Lord.
Amen.
Says these Sabbaths, they are the Sabbaths. The times are the Sabbaths.
A sign between God and
They are a
his people.
sign between God and his people.
Yes.
So when the beast attacked the times and laws, he's attacking the sign that makes us resemble God.
Exactly.
And gives us wrong times, so that we don't resemble God. Because it says so in Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 12. Go to it. Yeah.
It's very deep, Elder.
Right? We have to now see that all the books in the Bible, they meet in the prophecies. Right? So because our day today, we are studying Revelation chapter 17. We are still on Revelation 13 there to explain exactly what is happening when we go further. This is about to start. Because how do we know it's about to start?
Which one?
Because the two-horned beast.
The two-horned.
Because we know it's about to start, because the four winds will start letting loose. And they let loose gradually. So what do we find? When they are letting loose, we find pestilence, disasters, famines, mudslides, wars against nations, angry nations against each other. These four winds on Revelation chapter 7, verse 1 are releasing to show that the time is up for the 144,000 to be sealed. Because they were told to hold until the 144,000 are sealed. What is sealing the 144,000? These times. Not the Sabbath only, but Sabbath including those times which were deleted by the beast.
Okay.
So they are empowered on the 144,000. That's part of their seal. So when they are sealed, this two-horned beast is about to start, because we see the warning about the pestilence, from the pestilence, earthquakes, disasters, nations fighting each other, and also one sign which shows that this is about to happen is the gospel of the kingdom in Matthew chapter 24, verse 14, is being preached to all nations.
Yes.
Then the end comes. This one comes, Revelation chapter 13 verse 11, which is the two-horned beast. It comes exactly at the same time when Daniel chapter 12 occurs.
Oh. Okay.
So we are seeing the chronology of it.
Yes.
When Daniel chapter 12 occurs, in Daniel chapter 12, what do you find? Michael standing.
Up for his people.
Michael is Christ. When Christ stands on earth, establishing the kingdom, this two-horned beast comes into play.
Sorry, Elder. Am I right to think that when this beast is coming on the stage of action,
Right?
it simply means the 144,000 are completely sealed, or the process of sealing is already finished?
It's finished.
Okay.
They know what is the truth. What is this truth about what has happened in the Dark Ages? They now know we have God's calendar,
Right.
which is different from the world calendar.
That's right.
They know we have God's feast, which is different from pagan feast. They now know we have all these times that the day begins in the middle of the night. That is wrong. We know that it is from sunset to sunset.
Yes.
And they know what? That the times which have been given as 3 times in a day, which is 2 times in the afternoon and 1 time in the evening, we now know we have only 2 times, day and night. What else do we know? We know all these feasts, which are God's feasts, as opposed to pagan feast. We know when to start the Lord's Supper. It is at the time of the 14th day of the first month of the Jewish calendar. They know all the truth. And when people come with this 4 times a year, they know that this is wrong. So when they know the truth, they cannot change to what is not truth. They can't change. So that's why I see the 144,000 have no guile in their mouth.
Well, they speak nothing but the truth.
Yeah, because if somebody will tell you in our Shona time, on Wednesday, they say China. That's guile. China, which is the 4th day of the week, that's guile. Because they know the first day of the week is Sunday.
Okay.
So if you say the first day of the week is Monday, that's guile. They know. They know. So there was no guile in their mouth, because all these times that were introduced to make sure you have guile, they now have come off from those times. They are now in the biblical times. Before this 2-horned beast comes to enforce the image of the first beast. What image? Of the times that the first beast introduced. So this one is going to do it, but not somebody who is ruling on earth, in nations, not a priest as it was in the Dark Ages. Somebody ruling a nation government will enforce what is the image of the first beast. These times will be enforced. That's why people will now be found also being imprisoned. People will be imprisoned, some will die. Okay. Why? Because it will be now opening up the civil imprisonment for not keeping these times. That's where we are going back to what it was in the persecution. But the 144,000, thank God, will be sealed. And no God, and where will they be? They will be seen in Revelation 14, standing with Christ on Mount Zion, with all the seals. So this is the time now. In our time, it's crucial to make this argument known in the house of God, so that the 144,000 are completely sealed, which we are happy. When these pestilences are coming, it shows that it's time up. It's the end. Anyone tells you in the world that we are in the end.
Yeah, they told you that.
Yeah, but they don't know how end is the end. That's where they should know
how much time is left.
Was
if you're telling me, Elder, that when this beast is already slightly, it's coming on the stage of action.
Right.
Simply means the 144,000, they're almost completed to be sealed.
Yes. So there is an argument in the house of God that some are saying we are preparing to hop in the cloud. But they don't know that this 2-horned beast has not come into play. It's not yet.
And if it comes...
So how can you hop in the cloud when this is so accurate to know that when the 2-horned beast comes into play, that's where Christ is standing on Mount Zion with 144,000 after establishing the kingdom. And the saints are being taken by the 144,000 to enhance the kingdom, to make it build up like a mustard seed. Right. This is accurate information. But if you say we are going now, anytime is the end, we are going into the cloud right now, before this beast has come into play, you cannot fool the 144,000. They know you are lying. You're lying. The same people who say we are about to go to heaven, we are about to, anytime Christ is coming to take us home, the same people know that the 666 has not yet happened. They know for sure. And these are the same people who are denying the kingdom, which should be established there. These are the same people who are still with the times of the beast. Why? They only change the Sabbath only to Saturday, but the rest of the times they are still together. If you are not keeping God's time, you are there. Whether you are not keeping the time of the beast, but you are there. It's the same as people who say, I can't keep the Sabbath. If you are not keeping the Sabbath on Saturday, even if you are not keeping anything, you are on the other side, eventually. So that's the argument, which is right now until the 144,000 are sealed. So the 2-1 beast is coming into play, fortunate enough, when Christ is on earth. Okay. And when Christ is standing in his kingdom, the one that we saw in 8:29, Desire of Ages, 3rd paragraph, telling us that he will stand, put his feet on Mount Olivet. This is the time this beast comes into play. The 2-1 beast. And we all know where it is. And everybody knows which country it is. So there's no need of mentioning. God put it in symbol there. So we leave it in symbol. Unless you want to know which one exactly, you can inbox BSM TV. Will tell you exactly what is happening. But we are just telling things as it is, as is the world history. But now, our main focus for tonight, is this one, Revelation 17. Sorry to take you a long time to explain, so that we know what was happening before. Now when we are here, we want to know, because this one it has 3 periods, as we are going to read. This one has got, Revelation 17 has 3 periods. What period? It's got a period where she was sitting in waters. Right? So, and then the period where she was sitting where? On the head. Right? And then the period where she was here, riding a scarlet colored beast. So these are the 3 periods we have to study to see what it is in Revelation 17. But because you see that in this period, when you are studying, we will see. Let's read the verse first. Revelation 17. Mm-hmm.
Elder, we've got so many things to learn.
So many to learn in a short space of time. That's what the early writing says. Yes. They will learn a lot of things in a short space of time. So it means we have got a lot of things to learn, and then they will unlearn a lot of things. What are we unlearning? That we are about to go to the Christ is about to come to take us in heaven in the clouds. This one hasn't come into play. He comes.
The whole process is incomplete.
He comes to protect his saints. When this one now is a mighty beast. This one, as I told you, it will be a ruler of a nation. So nobody can say anything against a giant, a mighty Goliath. This one. That's why we are happy. Daniel chapter 12 brings Christ to stand, and the time there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was. This is the time of trouble.
The time.
Yeah.
So who would you be persecuting if everyone has walked to heaven?
If everyone has gone to heaven, that's where we see how much lies upon the lips of people would tell us that Christ is about to come and we are going to heaven. What about this? What about this period? All these periods are still there. While the 4 winds have been released, this is what is being it's being released by the four winds. This is time of trouble, such as never. Let's see Daniel chapter 12. When Christ comes in this period. So we should be able now, chronologically, to understand the verses according to the world history.
And where are we on the
And where we are.
Yeah.
The whole Bible from Genesis to Revelation is arranged according to this history. So you should be able now, when you're reading Isaiah, that we are touching this period and go to the prophecies of that period and connect them well. This is what God gives. When he says knowledge shall be increased in the time of the end, that is the knowledge. We have to have that knowledge. It is increased for us to understand, so that we cannot be fooled or deceived, because it will deceive the very elect. Now, go to Daniel chapter 12.
Daniel chapter 12, from the first verse.
Yes, from the first verse.
Verse 1. And at that time, shall Michael stand up?
So if it's pointing to a time, it means somewhere in the prophecies, the time is there. Time. So you can see it's a continuation of Daniel chapter 11. So the time is coming from Daniel chapter 11. Let's see from Daniel chapter 11. Which time is that?
Which verse? Sorry.
Yeah.
Which verse?
It's Daniel chapter 11. Start from verse 42.
Verse 42.
We're in the 10 horns. You see this statue there? 10 horns, 10 toes, sorry. In the 10 toes period. Let's see, verse 42.
From verse 40, sorry.
40, yeah.
And at that time of the end.
Right. It's the time of the end. This is the time Daniel chapter 12 is talking about. At that time, what
of the
happened?
end, shall the king of the south push at him,
Right.
and the kings of the north,
So there's what has been called the king of the north and
king
south.
of the south.
They are in play now. To every prophecy reader, you can see this is the king of south,
This
this is the king of north. You don't need to mention them. You don't need to mention them. Because mentioning them, why God wrote them in
He's putting in
symbols
symbols.
and
There's a
say
reason.
south and north?
There's
There's
a
a
specific
reason.
reason.
So that the very king of the south and the very king of the north should not know. If they know, they'll tear down the Bible. Yeah, they'll tear the Bible. So God wants the prophecy students to know who
Intelligent.
is north, who
Who
is
is
south.
Absolutely, yes.
Right. So read on.
And at the time of the end, shall the king of the south push at him,
So the king of the south was pushing
Push.
at the king of the north.
and the king of the north shall come against him
You see, they are
Like a
fighting these
whirlwind.
two. They are two. Yeah.
with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships, and he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow and pass over.
Look at what the king of the north is doing. You should be watching the activities when news is coming, Sky News, BBC, you shouldn't just be enjoying news. You should be putting them according to the Bible
And their
verses in their place. No, king of the north is pushing to the king of the south. Because these two have been in play for the whole decade. They are fighting.
Going back and forth.
Yes. And what?
And shall enter into the countries
Right.
and shall overflow and pass
So
over.
king of the north is entered into
Countries.
and overflown
And pass over.
and passed over.
He shall enter also into the glorious land.
Right. Even the glorious land, which is Israel. That's
Shall
the glorious land. The king of the north has
Enter.
entered there. We have seen the king of the north has entered in the glorious mountain.
Yes.
Yes, he has done it. And what?
And many countries shall be overthrown,
And many countries are overthrown by the king of the north. Yeah.
but these shall escape out of his hand.
But there are countries who escape, who
Even
are
Edom.
going to escape. Edom, you know what? Edom. These are the inhabitants who come from Esau, Edom,
And Moab,
and Moab. You see?
and the chief of the children of Ammon.
You see, you should understand where the Bible is coming from. If you know the history from the beginning of Adam and Eve, yeah.
He shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries,
Right?
and the land of Egypt shall not escape.
Right? It's in the Bible, right?
But he shall have power over the treasures of gold and silver.
He is also
Very rich.
a big power according to the
Economics.
economics, right? Listen to that. And God is talking about something that is happening in our time. And what?
But he shall have power over the treasures of gold and silver,
Right?
and over all the precious things of Egypt.
Right?
And the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his
So you see,
steps.
all the countries are in the Bible. So it means you should know the world news and keep in tune with world news.
What's current
And
news?
when you have current news, and then you go to the statements.
Prophecies.
Some of the statements, they go straight away in the Bible. And you see, the one will utter this statement. And then you find he's
It
uttering that.
correlates.
Yes.
Eish.
Yeah. So when we are prophecy students, that's what we are studying.
Vigilant.
What is happening in our time, and what has happened before, and what is soon, what we are expecting. So God cannot leave people as butterflies flying everywhere without having knowing where we are going. He gives the radar. The radar is in the prophecy. So for a plane to fly in the mid-air there without a radar, that's very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
So we have a radar, which is the prophecies. So we should be knowing what is happening, so that we know exactly when Christ shall come. When he says, at that time, in Daniel chapter 12, we should know which time.
Which time is it?
Which time is that?
Very true.
Right?
Verse 44.
Verse 44.
But tidings out of the east,
So that king of the north is worried about tidings out of the east.
regardless of him doing wonders. everywhere.
Yes, but there is one place where he
Trouble
is so
him.
worried about.
But tidings out of the east,
Right.
and out of the north,
You see?
shall trouble him.
So these are a problem in his brain, like it was with Queen Nebuchadnezzar. He was troubled by a dream. And the Bible recorded it. He was troubled. He had a dream, but God made sure he forgets the dream and says he was troubled. Now this king of the north is tidings out of the east and the north. So you
They
should
shall
know
trample.
exactly what God is talking about, because there's somewhere in the Bible where he states which east is that and which north is that,
Is it referred
which is
to?
worrying the king of the north. And what?
Therefore,
Therefore,
he shall go forth with great fury to destroy,
right?
and utterly to make away many.
Right.
And he shall plant the tabernacles.
So after destroying many, he will plant his
Tabernacles.
You see, there is a time period where you see that event,
Of him planting the tabernacles.
planting the tabernacles.
Of his palaces between the seas. In the glorious holy mountain.
Right. So the seas which are near Palestine, which Canaan, is Mediterranean Sea. So planting the tabernacles between the seas and the glorious holy mountain, that episode has occurred already.
It has.
He did.
It has.
He did it. So we know what happened. So you plant them. Why? Why?
Yet he shall come to his end.
But at that time, it says, many shall not go with him in that planting of the
And none
tabernacle.
shall help him.
Yes, so there should be an activity where other countries will refuse
to help him.
to help him. You understand? So they refused. You saw it. They refused to help him. And let's hear more.
Now we're going to Daniel 12 now.
Now, so that episode already has occurred of planting tabernacles. No, actually, what we need is, yes, implemented that episode, but not in force yet.
So the first steps
The
have
first
been
step has been
initiated.
done. Yeah,
Okay.
have been done. But the second step
Not
is
in full
when he will put the troops, the putting of the troops
That's
between the
between the
tabernacle.
yeah.
What are these troops for? To guard what he wants to do in the glorious mountain.
So it's to protect his
Because
interests, yeah.
to protect his interests. So at that time when he wants to guard that incident he wants to do in the glorious mountain, that's the next verse on Daniel chapter 12 verse 1.
Verse 1.
Uh-huh.
And at that time,
At that time when he wants to do that,
shall Michael stand up.
then Michael will stand.
Aish.
So we are waiting for that episode when he will take the troops. Which are the troops? The troops are the soldiers, to go and put them between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. And at that time now, when he starts implementing the troops to be there, then we know we are done. That's the time Christ comes. That's the time now he will be on this.
This is the time
horns.
when he comes to this.
Two-horned beast. That's the time we expect Christ to step on the Mount Zion. Mount Zion with the 144,000. So that's the only episode we are waiting for.
Aish. So at this time, you'll be very furious.
You'll be furious. That's
Very
why he takes the
furious.
troops
Yes.
to stand between the seas, which is Mediterranean Sea, and the Holy Mountain,
Yes.
to make an incident in the Holy Mountain. But Christ will come and defend the Holy Mountain so that
Yeah,
he
so
doesn't do that.
Have we done this prophecy before? It's
Yeah,
coming
he doesn't
in full force
do
to me
that.
at this
He
moment.
doesn't do that because the troops, he has taken even the troops to put them between the glorious Holy Mountain and the Mediterranean. But that's the time we expect Christ to step and say, no, I'm there with his
You can't do
with
that.
his army, the 144,000, to start taking people from the Gentile world to possess the land. So it means this king of the north was also trying to do that, to possess that land. But Christ will stop it. Yeah, Christ will stop that. So we should be, we should not keep ourselves in darkness as to what is happening and what is soon to happen or what has happened. Otherwise, we keep ourselves in darkness
Yes, we have
without
to be well
knowing that
informed.
we are now at the end. But we should know how end is end. How end is because now we are waiting for the troops to be there between the glorious mountain led by the king of the north in this
Faith.
phase. When this phase starts, it starts with that.
Okay.
So, but God is saying, at that time, Michael stands. And to show that it's still during probational time before the end of the world. From verse 1, let's hear.
Daniel 12.
Yeah.
And at that time
Mhm.
shall Michael stand up,
Right.
the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people.
Right.
And there shall be a time of trouble,
So that's the time.
such as never was.
So you see, the probational time hasn't come to the end, because that is followed by a time of trouble.
such
When
as
he
never was.
steps in the kingdom with the 144,000 on Mount Zion, he steps to stop the activity of the king of the north,
That's right.
Daniel chapter 11. And at that time, he's got a sealed company, 144,000.
Because it goes on to say, and at that time,
Right.
thy people shall be delivered.
These are the people being delivered, the 144,000.
Everyone found written in the book.
And they are the ones found written in the book of life. Some will argue and say, so what happens to those who are not in the book of life? They are not yet judged yet. The Gentiles are not yet judged, because at that time when he stands, he's got the 144,000 who are sent, according to Isaiah chapter 66,
Right.
sent to
All the
the
nations.
old nation to bring the Gentiles to Christ when he stands on Matthew chapter 25. Let's go to Matthew chapter 25,
Matthew 25.
verse 31. When he stands in the throne of that glory,
Verse 31.
verse 31,
When the Son of Man shall come in his glory,
right,
and all the holy angels with him,
right,
then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory.
right,
And before him shall be gathered all nations,
all nations.
and he shall separate them one from another, as a
So you
shepherd
see now,
divided the sheep from the
those who
goats.
are not in the book of life is now
Separating them.
separating them. They are coming from the Gentile world. But thy people shall be delivered are those who are already sealed. They are delivered. We see them standing with him on Mount Zion as 144,000. They are sent now to bring all the Gentiles. That the seal now is extended
Yes.
to the Gentiles
Second.
at the time of trouble, such as never was. So you're talking about the walking in the cloud without this incident. We know for sure you don't know the prophets, and it's only because you're not following the world history, and also because you're not following the Leviticus chapter 23, which is the symbolic service, which has got all the information for us to understand this. That's the key to unlock everything. So without that key to unlock everything, you just daydreaming. Oh, Christ is about to come. When I woke up, I thought he's coming today. There is still this. There's still this. This two-horned beast is still there, going to do his play. According to Revelation 13, verse 11. The 666, where no man should buy or sell. So at that time when they have stopped him making that, possessing the Holy Land, instead is Christ and the 144,000 possessing the Holy Land. What does he do? The two-horned beast, he enforces the whole Gentile world now. Mark of the beast.
Mark of the beast. Mark of the beast.
But antagonizing the 144,000 who are being sent to preach those times again to the Gentiles. So there will be two preachers as usual. When there is a sealing process, there is two preachers. There is a preacher who says the times are still binding. The times in the Bible are still binding, while the other preacher is saying these ones which were changed by the beast in dark ages should continue. By neglecting the times of God, they are continuing with the times of the beast. Because the wound is healed.
So, Elder, allow me to go to this interesting question now. With all this that is happening at this stage,
right?
How then do we do the crossover to coming to this?
This is just a repetition of what is happening, as we are going to see. Let's hear. And then continuation, a slight continuation from what Revelation 13 has not explained.
Okay.
Now let's read from verse 1, 17 verse 1.
17 verse 1, sorry. 1 second.
Revelation 17 verse 1.
17 on the first verse, it says, And there came one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials.
Do you see, when he's talking about the seven vials, he's talking about this period has already finished.
Okay.
So it's at the end of people receiving 666.
Okay.
That's where we see 7
The
vials.
vials coming.
Right. So let's hear what that 7.
And talked with me, saying, sorry, saying, come hither, I'll show unto thee the judgment of the great war that sitteth upon many waters.
You see what? Since we know it's after the 666, but that angel starts with the woman sitting on many waters. When did the woman sit on many waters?
Yeah, when?
It's the time of the 4th beast of Daniel chapter 7.
Okay.
The 4th beast, which is the emperor and Papa Rome, it was sitting on many waters.
Okay.
What are waters? Daniel chapter 17. Revelation 17, verse 15. What are waters?
And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the war sitteth, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues.
So was Emperor Rome ruling the whole world? Peoples, multitudes, tongues. That's the time the whole world was ruled by the Roman Empire. That's the time. Soon after Christ had come. He came in the time of King Herod, Pilate. They were all in the Roman Empire.
Yes.
So that's the time the woman in the Dark Ages, when the woman changed the times and laws, that is when this woman was sitting on many waters. So in simple, it's telling us that this woman is the very one who was responsible in the Dark Ages. It's the same system which was responsible in Dark Ages of changing times and laws. So that's why at that period in Dark Ages, the woman was sitting on many waters. Why is a war? It's not a proper woman, because if you say a war, it's somebody illegitimate.
Yes.
So the system of worship was not legit. That's why it says a woman is a war. If it is an upright woman, like we see in Revelation chapter 12, we see a woman with 12 stars, the sun, dressed in the sun, dressed in white. So this is a proper
decent woman, yes.
With the proper times.
Yes.
That's all it means. That when that religion was operating, it had all the times. The proper times in their proper days.
That's right.
But when the woman was sitting on many waters, the times were changed to different dates.
Nice.
From the death of God. That's all that is. That's all that is. Yeah.
On the second verse.
Right. Second verse.
And with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication.
So how did the kings of the earth commit fornication? It's because they also used the symbol, the times that the woman
instituted. Okay.
It's all about time. All this history is all about God's time, the appointed times. But who is going to win the race? The one ruling in the last period, the 144,000, the stone that in Daniel chapter 2, the stone that was taken from a mountain. Yeah, hewn from a mountain. And what is a mountain? Isaiah chapter 2, verse 2. The mountain is the house of God, house of the Lord. What will come from the house of the Lord? A stone.
A fraction of people, yes.
A fraction of people will overcome. How do they overcome? By hitting the statue from the 10 toes.
And reinstituting
from the period
of
the 10 toes. And the statue, or hitting what statue? The statue which is there, which Nebuchadnezzar dreamt of how these apostate times were brought about until our time. The 144,000 is the one that is going to unlock everything that the whole world has been believing since. That's why we see the prophets of Daniel does not start from the Adamic period.
No, it starts from Babylon.
Why the Adamic period, they were still in the times. Okay. Abraham and they were still in the times, the statutes. Adam was still in the times of God.
Noah.
Appointed times was still Noah. Appointed time. It starts in the middle there with the Babylonian Empire. Why in the middle? That's where everything started. Manipulating things from the same moment. That's why in in Revelation chapter 17, that's where we will know them coming from Babylon.
Okay.
So the whole issue is the Babylonian Empire continued. Babylon starts with this, the first beast of Daniel chapter 7, there, Babylon. That's why this woman has got that.
The leopard-like. I mean, the lion-like.
The lion-like face. Yeah. And then also the bear. All this is all coming. Why Babylon was the first beast? All this system now is coming from Babylon.
That's why God is saying, come out of here.
Come out of this. This Nebuchadnezzar's system was Babylonian. He was actually located in Babylon, where there were no times and laws. So the whole system there started. Why would he start with the first beast, starting from Nebuchadnezzar's time in Babylon? That's where all the things were. Right. Here we saw in the Adam and Eve were still keeping the times and laws, the statutes, everything was keeping. And those people who were there, who went wrong, were judged.
Okay, yes.
The flood destroyed them. So then we see the Babylonian Empire starting with us. And Babel is confusion. That's where the confusion started. It goes
all the way.
But the stone cut from the mountain destroyed everything and came up to stand with Christ on Mount Zion. That's where we are going.
The truth will always triumph.
Yeah. So we should be able then, by reading and by perusing and researching everything, we should be able to come up with the whole Daniel and Revelation as a story. That's what we are doing now. We come up with it as a story. We need the reading just to reinforce the story that we know. The story that we know from Babylon there. We went up as far. If you want to take the verses, just to support.
Yes.
But those who are going to be sealed will know Daniel and Revelation, like it was promised to Daniel in Daniel chapter 12, verse 10. It says, knowledge shall be increased.
Yes.
At that time, people will have knowledge of these scriptures. Yes. Not knowledge only of technology, but also the scriptures of knowing the whole plan of salvation.
Amen.
You understand? So it's Daniel and Revelation that will open up everything, and we know those who are going to be sealed. You can't be sealed without the truth. You need the truth to be sealed. You need it. So we should be concentrating more on these prophecies sealed in our foreheads so that God is approving us. Yeah? A workman who rightly divides, who God
without being
approves.
Ashamed.
God is not ashamed of those who know, who dig deeper in the mind of truth. That's what we do. So, Pastor, you were reading verse 2 in Revelation chapter 17. Yeah, let's read.
Verse 2. With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication.
So this woman sitting on the many waters, we have seen the waters are multitudes, nations, and tongues in Revelation 17, verse 15. This woman has caused the whole world to adopt it to the wrong times.
Yes.
And we know for sure we have a calendar which is not in the biblical calendar. So the whole world has
adhering to it,
committed the fornication which Revelation 17 is saying.
Talking about. And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
So that's the wine of wrong appointed times. That is the wine. You talk about people, you see, we are coming into December now. They are telling you it's the 12th month. But it's the 10th month according to the Bible.
Yes.
So the whole world is saying, Happy Christmas, Happy all these times that have come from this woman. Yeah, the whole world, Revelation 17 says, the whole world has committed fornication with this woman. Change the times. Change the times. Let's hear.
Third verse. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness.
So when John was carried into the wilderness, he was told, come, let me show you. This very woman was sitting on the waters. So when he was carried to the wilderness, what happened?
And I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored
beast. So instead, but we have been told this is the same woman who was on the waters. But instead, he was shown this one. Scarlet.
Sitting on a scarlet-colored beast.
Why scarlet? Because Revelation 13 said this one is leopard-like. And the leopard has got white and black dots.
Yes.
So, meaning, in the Gentile countries or in the whole world, there was a mixture of saints,
Truth and error.
saints, and
Sinners.
wheat and tares. So in the Gentile world, there was still that mixture. The saints will be there, commingled with the
Unrighteous.
with the tares. But at this time, the beast change is not spotted. It's not having dots, but instead it's scarlet. When you go to Isaiah, you find that the color scarlet is for sin.
It's for sin.
So this is the time when John saw the heathen nation now without saints. The one that Amos talks about, I beheld the world, there was not even a saint. Where had they gone? Because when Christ came here on the two-horned beast, the saints were being carried by the 144,000 to the kingdom. But what remained in the Gentile world is only people who are sealed with 666 here. These are the ones who have that color of scarlet.
Okay.
So the beast is just a civilization, a people.
Yes.
So the people now were all red. But the important scenario, repeat what he saw.
So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness.
Right?
And I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast,
So it's still a woman sitting.
full of names of blasphemy,
Right?
having 7 heads
Right?
and 10 horns.
So you see those 7 years already in Revelation 13 in
yes.
our time, which we have a multiplicity of churches with different religions and beliefs. They are still there. Revelation 17 shows they are still there
On the scarlet
on the
beast.
scarlet card. So their systems of worship are still there. But what has happened, God has taken all the saints which were in those bodies. They are still there because Revelation 17 clearly says, when I saw the beast now was scarlet, sinful, but still having these 7 heads and 10 horns. And the horns are, if you see, you find the horns, it will explain what are the horns in chapter 17, verse 12. I think verse 12,
yes.
yeah.
And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings.
Right. So these 10 horns are kingdoms. Kings
Yes.
rule kingdoms.
Yes.
But instead, what we have now, when this one who was leading the kingdoms was now having the image of the first beast of changing times and laws, making sure the times which were changed in the Dark Ages are enforced. This king led all the kings to follow that. But still, we still have the 10 horns in the scarlet color. So we have got to be careful there. Because when we rule without a proper thus saith the Lord, we have to make sure we are ruling. At the same time, we are keeping what God is saying we should keep.
Yes, absolutely.
There's no excuse of rule.
No.
We had the rulers in the Bible who were ruling with the commandments of God in the Bible.
And
They were making them, enforcing them to their subjects. We have the ruler Samuel, the kings. They were kings. When you read the Bible, it's got First Kings, all these kings, Jeroboam, and they were in accordance with the Bible.
Yes.
But what we find in this time, we find people who rule, but nothing to do with the
God,
Bible,
yeah.
nothing to do with God.
That's where the controversy
This is all incorporated into what is called the scarlet-colored beast. So when John was carried to the wilderness, first of all, we saw he was warned that this is going to come from this woman sitting on waters. But it is in the Dark Ages, was sitting on waters. And the same woman now has taken off all the churches here in Isaiah chapter 4 and eating their own bread,
And
having their own,
apparatus.
and she has taken all of the systems there to become, to intoxicate them with the wine. So they are all taken. And then when this one comes to rule, only the people who are sealed with the 144,000, when they are coming to take the Gentile people who are the saints, they are now the ones who are in the kingdom. Say this is the kingdom. So, but the rest, where are they? They join this
The
one.
scarlet
Colored. So when here this beast is sitting on top of this head, it's in this time. How does the beast sit on top of the head? Sits on top of the religious systems to make sure that they all don't run away from the times that were changed by the beast. They all continue. Thereby, that's why the wound is healed. That's where we see this woman sitting on the heads. So the woman sat on the heads in our time, sitting on them. That's why the wound is healed. Also, how does the woman continue sitting on the heads in the time when the two-horned beast is ruling? Make sure all these heads come together, council of churches.
Okay.
So that this woman gives them his hair intoxication, the wine. So how does this woman now continue here, still sitting on the scarlet? This woman is one. But by study, we will find out who the woman is.
So, Elder, from everything that you've been explaining so far as we have come to this point, so what does the scarlet-colored beast symbolize?
So as we have explained, you see the color is scarlet. That is the scarlet-colored beast. So what is it?
What does it symbolize?
So as we have been coming through all these beasts, you can know all these beasts, they symbolize something.
That's right.
And we saw this one symbolized the lion,
the
Babylonian, Medo-Persia, the Greece, and the Rome, and the present world, which is Revelation 13, and the future to us, which is the two-horned beast. And now, as we study Revelation 17, you are asking, what is this scarlet-colored beast?
Yes.
As we saw in Revelation chapter 17 verse, we started from verse 2. That's where we find the color scarlet. Read that verse.
Okay. And there came one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great war that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
Right.
So, this is verse 3. He carried me away into the spirit, into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast,
right,
full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
So we are being told, particularly in verse 2, that even the kings of the earth
have committed fornication.
The same fornication. So that they arrange this, the changings of the time, the changes of the calendar, God's calendar.
God's appointed times, yes.
The appointed times. And you can see even the kings of the earth, that's what he's talking about. They've changed even their systems according to the calendar, which is not in the Bible.
So is that the fornication?
At the appointed times of God, they've been changed. That's the fornication. So here, we are being told that this scarlet-colored beast is still with 7 heads.
And 10 horns.
It's still with religious systems. And 10 horns, still with the kings.
She's still
We
controlling.
were told in chapter 17, Revelation chapter 17, verse 12, that the 10 horns are the kings.
Are the kings.
Do you understand? So it's still got the kings. It's still got the religious systems there. But it's now color scarlet. Still the woman is sitting with
on top of it,
the wine of the fornication. You understand? So all this, then you're asking me, but let's get it from the spirit of prophecy.
Yes, please.
Because it's a hearsay when I say it. We need the spirit of prophecy to tell us exactly who then is the scarlet-colored beast. Now you see in 2 Esau 1:1, the first paragraph. So we want to hear those verses being mentioned from somewhere written down in black and white.
2 SR 111.1. So he carried me away. That's the one, yeah?
Yeah.
So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast,
Right.
full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
So it's significant that the names are blasphemy. You know what is to blasphemy?
Yes. To do everything against God.
You know, remember what Christ was charged with when he was nailed on the cross?
Yeah, there was
Blasphemy.
yeah.
So they thought he was accepting himself to be a son of God when he was not. So what is blasphemy? It's something that you think
Professing
it's
to be.
professing to be God's when it's not.
In actual fact, you're not.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So that's why we have seen in Isaiah chapter 4 that 7 women, all,
Taking hold of, yeah.
when you see them, you think they are for God,
Yes.
but in actual fact,
They're not.
they've taken only the name of this man. They will eat
Their
their own bread
and
and wear their own apparel. So what are they doing?
That's blasphemy.
That's
Yeah.
blasphemy. Because if they are professing what they are not, that is
That is
blasphemy.
blasphemy.
So here we have told full of names of blasphemy on these heads.
Of which we can't put the name blasphemy on something that has nothing to do with God.
No.
Yes.
No. Blasphemy is to do with God.
Yes.
Because if you are blaspheming, you are pretending to other people to be for God in your practices. In actual fact, it's
They're
the
not.
opposite.
Yes.
This is what they charged Christ of. They charged Christ that he's coming to say he's the Son of God when he's not. So they charged him with the charge of blasphemy. So here we are being told that these names are full of blasphemy.
Which is confirming that these are religious bodies.
These, yes, it's to do with
It's
worshipping.
religious bodies, yes.
Now let's hear more from that paragraph.
Okay. This particular beast cannot be a symbol.
Yes, of Rome.
As some have thought.
We saw this fourth beast on Daniel chapter 7. The fourth beast was Roman Empire
In 2 sections.
in 2 sections. But now we are being told by the spirit of prophecy, this particular beast which the scarlet colored, it can't be Rome still.
Okay.
It can't be.
It cannot be.
No. This is the spirit of prophecy saying it cannot be Rome.
As some have thought.
As some always think. Some are even now thinking.
That this is wrong.
No, it's not.
So what
We
is it?
passed that period of Rome.
Yeah.
And we went to this 13, Revelation 13, which is our period. And we are still going this period. Rome is left there. So all these beasts will come into play without people noticing them.
Because you're focusing on
Because
wrong
they're
things.
just focusing still on the dark
The
ages.
wrong things.
But these beasts will all come into play and finish their time without anyone noticing. Why? Because they are still on the dark ages beast. Imperial Rome, when it started after the cross,
Yes.
that's where they are pointing it. Instead of pointing to a fresh beast coming.
That's a misapplication.
That's a misapplication. So this is why the spirit of prophecy is telling us that it can't be wrong,
It can't
as
be wrong.
some
If
profess.
thought. Okay.
And what is it?
So the first reason is that the nondescript beast of Daniel 7, as previously explained, is a symbol of Rome and was seen coming up from the sea.
Right. Let's see in Daniel chapter 7, this one coming up. How did it come? Go to verse 3. When you can start from verse 1, Daniel chapter 7.
Verse 1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of heaven strove upon the great sea,
Right.
and 4 great beasts came up from the sea,
So where
Diverse
did
from
the
one
4
another.
winds they strove on the sea?
on the great sea.
But we were told in Revelation 17, verse 15, what is the water? What is sea?
Verse 15. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the war sitteth, are peoples,
Right.
and multitudes, and nations, and tongues.
So where is the sea coming? Where is the sea in Daniel chapter 7? What is the sea?
It's the people.
It's the people,
Yes.
multitudes, and tongues. So when it says this beast came from the sea, it was made by the people.
It emerged from the people.
It emerged from the people.
Yes.
Like it is with all empires or even all kingdoms. They are elected by people. So what are they? Where are they coming from? From the sea.
From the sea.
But this beast, all these 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, with including this Rome, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome, they are all striving from the sea. So this is what the point the spirit of prophecy is saying. It can't be so because these beasts,
They came up from the sea.
including Rome, they came from the sea.
Okay.
But let's see, where is this one coming from?
Okay.
Now,
But the scarlet colored beast,
the scarlet colored beast.
John says, was in the desert.
Right. So
okay,
where was
okay.
John carried in Revelation 17?
Into
Was
the desert.
carried into the
wilderness.
wilderness. So wilderness is an origin of the scarlet colored beast. But when Rome came, it was from the sea. So they can't be the same.
No.
So those people who are saying this is still Rome, they're wrong. Because Rome came from the sea. This one came from the wilderness, according to the Bible. You understand?
Yes.
So it can't be wrong.
It changes the whole narrative.
So it means
Changes the whole
what we are
narrative.
talking about here, even the two horned beasts, they are still saying it's wrong. This one, they say it's Papa wrong. But if you see the two horned beast in Revelation 13, verse 11, it does not come from the sea. It does not come from the sea. Like, let's go to verse 11. Yeah.
Verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up from the earth.
Right. See the origin. So it needs a prophecy student
To comprehend all
to
this.
comprehend and see this. There is a reason why the Bible is
It's
writing
precise with locations.
different origins, where it is coming from.
Yes, of course.
Like it is when we're talking about Revelation 14, those 5 angels' messages. The first 3 were flying in the middle,
midst of heaven, yes.
but the last 2 were not flying. Or even Revelation chapter 7 is flying. It's flying from the east.
That's right.
And when the Bible says it's coming down from heaven and it's flying from east,
There's a significance.
they want a prophecy student to reason. To reason that there is a reason why the spirit of prophecy has written a different location altogether. The location for the 4 beasts was the sea. And the location for the scarlet color is
the
not
wilderness.
the sea, it's the wilderness. And the location for the 2 horned beast
Is the earth.
is the earth. So they want us to reason.
That's different.
Yes, they want us to reason. What earth? What is this beast? It's the earth. And that other one from sea. So when you're saying earth, then you're seeing somewhere where there was no people. So the only thing that is there in that vacant space is the earth. You know, it's actual God is telling us that there was somewhere where there was no inhabitation of people.
On the
Sometimes,
earth.
yes, we know from history. We know there is a place which was not inhabited.
It had to be discovered.
So the Bible has already prepared it and says the earth. But where there were people, sea. Where it was a desert, like this one is desert. Why? Because all the saints at this time have been taken to Jerusalem, to the kingdom. So what is remaining are the are the people who have received 666 in the Gentile countries. They remain. They've accepted the times and laws. As for the Dark Ages, they've been enforced by these 2 horned beasts. And now what is in the wilderness? What is in the wilderness? You remember when the woman from Revelation chapter 12 was given eagle's wings to fly away
into the wilderness.
You see, the wilderness is still the people. It's still the Gentile countries.
It's the opposite of the vineyard of God.
Yes, because when the persecution was rife, they said the woman was given eagle wings to fly into the wilderness, and we know where the wilderness was. But now the last beast, the scarlet colored beast, is still now in the wilderness, and that wilderness is now left without a woman, but it's still got 7 heads and 10 horns. So these systems of worship which were there, which we are told are blasphemous, they did not originate from the vine, because the Holy Land is described as the vine, or is the place of the holy mountain. That's where the initial headquarters of the Christians was. When Christ was still here, before he went, he established the early Christian church in Jerusalem. So you cannot mention Jerusalem as saying wilderness.
No.
And you cannot say it's the earth.
No.
You cannot say even desert. You can say desert. But all these, each word in the prophecy standing for something.
It's got a meaning.
If you just read it in passing,
No.
you end up with the wrong thing altogether.
Yes, you need to exercise caution and
You have to have caution. Even a comma means something.
Yes.
Even a dot means
It's
something.
differentiating
So
between
you
terms,
need to be very careful. You need to be led by the Spirit of God
Absolutely.
to understand what
Absolutely.
Revelation is trying to say. No, here we have told this is coming from the wilderness. It's coming from the desert.
Mhm.
This is what John was saying. Come, I will show you the judgment. So meaning,
Yeah.
when it's in the desert, it is in the time of the 7 last plagues.
Mm.
What is happening in the desert in the 7 last plagues? They're receiving Revelation chapter 16.
Okay.
7 last plagues. They are being punished. It's now the punishment of the Gentiles after receiving 666, after the saints have been taken off to New Jerusalem, and then the plagues come. The plagues don't come to those people who received 666 when the saints are still commingled with them. No, it was not like that in Goshen.
No.
In Goshen, when the plagues of Exodus in the time of Moses came, they did not fall in the area where the Israelites were.
Mm-hmm.
No, they went everywhere else in Egypt there, but the Israelites did not receive them. Even the very last plague, which was the death of the firstborns, it did not go to those who had put blood on the doorpost.
They were spared.
They were spared because of the 3 stripes of blood.
Mm-hmm.
Now, even here, the saints will be spared because of the 3 seals. Once they receive the 3 seals, they will be taken to the kingdom. This is the time for the gathering time in the two-horned, when the two-horned beast is now active.
Okay.
So, the answer to your question is, what is the scarlet-colored beast? The scarlet-colored beast, what is it?
What is it?
So when it is in the desert, which one is the desert? The Gentile countries, which have been left while the saints are now gathered in the kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
When the time of the plagues of Revelation 16 are coming to those who have received 666, those are all in a beast called scarlet.
Okay, all right.
Scarlet-colored beast. Why? Because the color red, sinful.
Mm-hmm.
666, sinful.
It's only the sinners.
There's no spotted leopard, because the spots
Completely scarlet.
is completely red. The spots were the saints which were still mingled in the Gentile countries, but now they've been removed by the 144,000 to the Holy Land, where the kingdom has been established. So it's the time for the falling of the 7 last plagues to punish those who received 666. That's the scarlet-colored beast. Now read on. Let's hear. Did you finish that chapter?
No. Just a few more lines. So it says, therefore, the forces that brought the scarlet-colored beast on the stage of action is the opposite of that which produced the nondescript. Absolutely true.
So, the nondescript is this one.
It came from multitudes and peoples and tongues.
It came from the sea.
Yes.
So the forces that brought this beast into being is the opposite from the forces that brought the scarlet-colored. What are the forces that brought the scarlet-colored? It is the opposite of the people, multitudes, and tongues. But what is it that brought this one? It's the 666. It's the 666. Right? So, we have seen that.
So, what does the woman signify then? The woman of the many waters, we've talked about it.
Right?
The woman and the heads, which are on the scarlet-colored beast.
Right?
What do they
for us to understand your question, because we have seen this woman is sitting on different things. Now this woman on waters.
Many waters, yes.
The woman on 7 heads. The woman on the scarlet-colored. So it's got 3 periods. But this woman, then we need to know more about the woman, because we have seen the locations. The seven heads is where the woman is now instilling the 666 into council of churches and one world government.
Okay.
That's why we see these kings still there. the blasphemous heads, still
there.
there. They are the ones the woman will sit on. But who then is this woman? Because this woman, we have seen the woman,
Yes.
in different stages.
Mhm.
But who is the woman? But for us to understand, let's go to the spiritual prophecy to lead us. 2S are there when 122.3.
2 SR 122.3.
Mm-hmm.
It says here,
Mm-hmm.
note that the woman sits on the waters,
1,
also on the heads,
2,
and on the beast.
3.
So this is the
So
the
waters, heads,
and the beast.
beast.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
As it will be impossible for one person to sit on all three objects at one time,
Right?
the prophetic symbols reveal a spiritual fraud in 3 different periods.
Mm-hmm. So this woman did spiritual fraud, and this fraud is when the woman changed the times and laws.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw that fraud when we read Daniel chapter 7, verse 25 says, "You have changed times
And laws.
and also persecuted saints."
That's right.
So there was fraud there when he was changing in the dark ages. That is fraud.
What about
Sitting on the
other
waters.
one? Yes.
On the other one, sitting on the heads, there was fraud also when he was instilling 666.
And this is the time the deadly wound was healed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This is the time of the 2-horned beast. And then here, fraud when now the whole Gentile world is under the command of 666.
So she's with full sway over.
Full sway of them, yeah. But let's hear what the spiritual prophets will tell us exactly.
Okay. So it says,
Mm.
as it would be impossible for one person to sit on 3 objects at one time, the prophetic symbols reveal a spiritual fraud in 3 different periods.
Right?
Thus, John declares, I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast,
1.
not upon the waters,
Right.
no, upon the heads.
Here. Not upon the waters, not upon the heads. But here,
On
this
the
is what
scarlet-colored
John was
beast.
shown in the wilderness.
That's
Went to
right.
the desert, saw the woman sitting on a scarlet-colored
Beast.
beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. Right?
The woman sitteth upon many waters.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, let me start again.
Mm-hmm.
Not then John declares, I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast,
Mm-hmm.
not upon the waters, no, upon the heads.
Mm-hmm.
Before he saw her, the angel said,
Mm-hmm.
the woman sitteth upon many waters.
That's what we saw in Revelation 17, verse 1.
Yes, on which the woman sitteth on 17 verse 1, like you said.
Right?
Thus John saw her last exploit only.
Mm-hmm. So when he was carried to the desert, he only was shown the last
Exploit of the woman.
exploit of the woman, because everything has been finished,
Done.
but it's on the last phase.
Mhm.
That is the scarlet colored.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Consequently,
Right?
the symbol sitting on the waters in her first act,
Mm-hmm.
according to the vision.
Right. So let's go then. Therefore,
Her first achievement of sitting upon the waters
right?
must have been in the past, from
Right.
the time the prophetic symbol is revealed.
So it's in the past.
It's-
So we know it's here.
You've like explained this. for
Yeah.
you.
Right?
Hence, the sitting on the heads becomes her second accomplishment.
Right? On the head, second up.
Second accomplishment.
Right?
And the sitting on the beast is the last.
Final.
At which time she
Shown.
is judged.
Right.
Okay.
She's judged at the scarlet colored. That's the phase the woman is judged. This one. Why? Because that's the time of the plagues. Remember, it was the 7 angels, Revelation 17 verse 1, when started with one of the 7 angels with the vials.
Yes.
So these vials now are going to be poured at this stage.
Scarlet colored stage.
Scarlet colored. At the stage of the scarlet color.
Okay.
Right?
You want me to read on, yeah? So as the Protestant churches are represented by the heads, like you said, yeah? She could not have sat on them before the Reformation, for they were not as yet in
So
existence.
how did the Protestant churches come about? After Reforming.
That's why they had
After the Reformation started by
Martin Luther.
that's when that gave rise to the Protestant
Churches.
churches. Reformation. So the woman she could not sit on the heads before the Protestant churches were formed.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it was after
Yes.
they were formed. Right?
As the heads upon which the woman sits are unharmed.
We have no wound explained at this
On
time.
the scala,
It's
yes.
now on Revelation 17, 7 heads.
Unharmed.
No wound. And yet in Revelation 13, let's go to Revelation 13. You find these 7 heads, one of them has a wound. But in Revelation 17, there is no more wound. It's gone. No reformation. Read from Revelation 13,
Verse 3.
verse 3.
And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death.
So in verse 13, one of the head is wounded
To death.
to death. And
And his deadly wound was healed.
so this inflicting of reformation by Martin Luther, it created a wound to the head. But at the time of our
Present time.
present time, the wound is healed.
And all the world.
And the
wandered
whole
after
world
beast.
at our time now is wandering after the beast. The whole world at our time is keeping the times that were formed in the Dark Ages. It's all about the times.
So Protestantism actually fractured the head. And then that's when the beast was wounded. But then now,
There's no more there's
yeah.
no protesting over the things of God.
so it has been completely healed now.
It's now healed. That's why in Revelation 17 you hear nothing about the wound. Nothing. The wound is gone. Everywhere, the whole world is wandering after the beast.
So where are the reformers? Where is Reformation now?
Only the 144,000 emerge with the Reformation.
To reinstitute
To
the laws of God,
reinstitute
which
the
were
laws of
downtrodden.
God. This is the whole issue that is worrying all over.
This is quite very disturbing, Elder.
It calls for you to put all your mind and focus in the things of God. To say, if you want to serve God fully with a mind and conscience which is void of offense.
So, sorry. So this church federation of all these 7 heads to be controlled by this one woman,
The woman is controlling this whole.
what unites them?
What unites them is because, when you are offending God, it's kind of make a very simple religious experience which everybody else can adopt.
Okay.
It's very easy.
It's very easy.
It's a life which is broad for everyone wants it.
It's accommodating to everyone.
Accommodating everyone. That's why we have 2 roads. One is broad, and most of them are going for perdition. And one is narrow,
And few find it.
and only few are there. Why? Because if few are there, it means this road has a lot of inconveniences. If I tell you that today, be a vegetarian, I've inconvenienced you.
Yeah.
It means when you go to your parties, you stick to the food that is to keep you temperate.
Yes.
And when you go to funerals or to weddings, you'll make sure your life, it goes according to what God has said to you. But you find loads of people around you going on the other side, but you have to keep yourself
Temperate.
in the road.
Okay.
So it means it needs a lot of commitment.
That's why only few
That's why
find it.
few
Find
find it. But the rest of the people, they just want happy, a lazy Christian life, just lazing about, doing nothing. So that unites.
Because it pollutes the true faith.
Yeah, they profess to say they have so much love. When they are so, the love which is there is just not genuine love. Those who profess to follow God have got genuine love amongst themselves because they are all yearning they've got one aim. You understand? So you're asking me what unites them.
What unites? But I think you've already
You
answered
can go to those who drink beer. They're so united.
It's very
You go to see them in the pub, they laugh their lungs out, they jump when they see each other. But what is uniting them is
It's the
that
wrong act. It's the wrong act.
you are so united. But you know there's a common denominator in that unity.
Which is the wrong act.
That's the wrong act. So it has some temporal unity which is not genuine. It is not genuine. So we cannot say they are so united. No. They've got one thing in common. It's like people are, when they are voting for a candidate to rule in the political world. They might live their own lives at home, but when they meet there, they are united because they've got one common denominator, the person they are voting for. That's it.
Okay.
They are voting for one person, so everywhere they can put on t-shirt and they can say, my t-shirt is blue or my t-shirt is brown or whatever. All of them putting on same t-shirt, but does not mean they are genuinely united. But it only means they have one candidate.
They have one
That's
purpose
it.
to pursue.
So you can't call that unit. Whereas those who are in the narrow road, they are united in all purposes.
Yes.
All purposes.
All aspects of life.
All aspects, whether they are talking, they mind what they say, and when something is said which is wrong, they make sure they amend it straight away. It's so commitment which is genuine. It's genuine. Right.
So this is what is uniting now.
Yeah.
These heads.
Yeah.
And giving this woman the liberty to sit on all of them because she knows all their interests are the same.
Because the life is just relaxed.
It's the same.
It's relaxed and it gives everyone to, do what you, whether it's against God, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So they're sitting on top of this head. But we cannot call it unity. It's just something else. Right. So you were reading where it says, where did you live? As the heads upon which the woman sits are unharmed. Yeah.
Unharmed. As the heads upon which the woman sits are unharmed, it is evident that the prophetic symbol is to meet its fulfillment sometime after the deadly wound of the leopard-like beast of Revelation 13 verse 3 is healed.
Right. So it's still future
to this.
To what we are here. The prophetic symbol is future to our present time. It's this scarlet carabis. What it is future also to this one.
Okay.
And future also to the 7 heads.
Okay. So the symbol sitting on the heads denotes union of churches. For she sits on them. Yes, you explain this.
Right. So because most people say this woman is churches. No, it's not churches. The woman is sitting on the churches, the 7 heads. But then this woman, we want to know
who is she?
Who is the woman? Because it's not, because most people say, the woman, it's a church, so and so church. No, it's not a church. The woman is not a church.
Who is she then?
This is something sitting on the 7 heads. If the 7 heads denote churches, then that thing is sitting on top of the churches. It's not sitting, it's not the churches because they are not the woman here. They are not the woman. Therefore,
Protestantism and spiritualism clasp each other's hand by the medium of a league. Then it could be said, the woman sitteth on the heads.
Right? The symbol.
The symbol of the woman sitting on the beast will meet its fulfillment when that religious federation shall make an alliance with the powers of the world.
Right. When the religious
church federation
will make an alliance with the horns, with the religious world. Because so far what we see the heads on their own and the horns on their own.
Independent of the heads.
So it means the governments are on their own and the churches are on their own. But in future to us, they will make a league.
The horns and the heads.
Yes, they will make a league. The horns and the heads, the churches and the governments. They will unite. Where we are going.
That will be the
like
image.
It was.
That's
the image of what it was in the Dark Ages.
In the Dark Ages.
In the Dark Ages, you can see here on the horns we have a head, In fact, let's go to Daniel chapter 7. You see how, from verse 7, let's hear. You see that when we are dealing with the fourth beast, read on there.
Verse 7.
Mhm.
Daniel 7, verse 7.
Mhm.
After this, I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast,
This fourth beast,
dreadful and terrible,
it was dreadful and terrible.
and strong exceedingly.
Like I said, it's got two sections. It is dreadful.
And it had great iron teeth.
Right?
It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it.
Right?
And it had 10 horns.
So it had 10 horns. We saw Eruli, Ostrogoths, Vandals,
Visigoths.
Visigoths. We all know the 10 horns. Like these are the names of the state which we are in. They are the 10 horns. So this is what this beast came up. When it came up, soon after the cross, it was the Roman Empire coming in. And it has two stages. One, the ecclesiastical Rome and Papal Rome. Those are the two stages. That's why we see them in two. But we want to see the formation of the second stage. The first stage had 10 horns. And it also, dreadful teeth and whatever. But the formation of the second one,
Okay, that's where our main
that's the
focus
interesting,
is. So, verse 8. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little one.
Right, but on verse 7, have you finished it?
Yeah.
Right, okay, let's go to
verse 8. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up from among them another little horn.
So you see, it's not coming from the heads. It's coming from the horns. It means come from the
civil
government, civil. I consider the horns. There came a little one.
A little horn.
So it means it's a little king. It's a little king coming on. Let's hear more about this king.
Before whom there were 3 of the first horns.
So this king initially took off from the 10 horns, took up the Ostrogoths, Vandals, and Heruli. These ones were taken off.
By the roots.
By the roots. Rooted them off. Why? If you go to history, you find out why they were taken off. They were professing that there was no Christ. So the little horn was a Christian. So took off the 3. And when 3 are off, what happened? Listen to that.
And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man.
But then this horn, which is emerging from the 10, they were already 10, took off 3. So how many horns remained?
8.
There were 7 from 10, but the little one became the 8th. So it's the 8th there. That's the second stage of this empire.
Which are the eyes like the eyes of a man.
See, it has eyes
like the eyes of a man.
So if the eyes are together with the horn, so it had 2 things.
It's a horn.
It's a horn
and a head.
And a head. And if it's a horn, it's a king.
Civil power.
And if it is a head, it's a religion.
Okay.
So that phase, that's why it is important. That's why it had power to control the saints. Why? Because anyone who differed with that little one or that little king in the religion, he was head of the religion as well as head of the government. Anyone who differed, he had right to imprison.
Okay, without anyone asking why.
Yes. Yet in our time, the horns are separate,
independent of the heads.
From the
heads.
And there's something of sinister, because in Revelation 13, the horns have got crowns.
Oh yeah. Yes,
so the churches are not crowned.
It's the horns.
So who is ruling at our time?
It's the horns.
It's the government.
It's the horns.
They are the ones crowned by God. To rule.
The heads are in subjection to the horns.
The heads, you have to listen to the horns. So that's why the heads have to register
to the horns.
To the horns, so that they do what is acceptable by the horns. But in the time of the Dark Ages, the horn and the head were together. So where was the crown?
On the horn head.
On the horn head. The church was crowned, and the horn was crowned. So you see, the crown was not only on the horns; it was also crowning the church. In the time of the second stage of the Roman Empire, there. But here in our time, why God has left it like this is what the regions are doing in church, in the laws, implementing all the laws in the Bible and everything. The churches, the kings, the governments have nothing to do with that. They just say worship according to what you agree.
Reasons, yeah.
So it gives a good leeway for the 144,000 who are being sealed.
Okay. That's a
They
good
are
way of
being
looking at it.
sealed when
When there's
four
religious liberty
winds, four winds on Revelation chapter 7, verse 1,
still held.
are still held. So if these winds are held, what is actually is being held? These horns are held not to interfere with the church.
Okay, with church stuff. Okay.
They can't interfere because their Revelation 7 is holding them. Why? So that the 144,000 are sealed. You see what God has done?
It's
But
marvelous.
when the winds are released, this one comes into force. A time of trouble such as never was, because all this restriction which was on the horns
is let loose.
is let loose to interfere with the system which was in Dark Ages to be put back and say whoever breaks Christmas, whoever breaks this law on the pagan laws, it should be imprisoned.
Hey.
This one will do that. The two-horned beast.
Hey.
That's why there is a time of trouble such as never was. So we should thank God that our sealing now is when the horns are crowned. Thank God for that. Because if the sealing was permitted when the churches are crowned, there was no go area. There was going to be persecution and killing one another, even though they're still trying to disfellowship and whatever. But they're not even crowned to do that. The crowning is still in the civil there. There is no crown. Everyone is allowed to worship according to the dictates
Of their own conscience.
So they try also to bring this back, but
it's not the time.
It's not the time. It's not the time. So here, in the time of the two-horned beast, the four winds will be released. So they will be now the 10 horns which have been crowned, now allowed to go into church affairs. And that's why they make what is called a one world government and one world council of churches to make sure these are the winds released. And then it will be a time of trouble in Daniel chapter 7, chapter 12, verse 1. When Michael stands, it will be a time of trouble such as never was. But thank God, the 144,000 will be delivered. And only the Gentile world, when they are coming now in Matthew chapter 25, verse 31, when he comes, all these people who are coming from a time of trouble such as never. And these are the people like a great multitude in Revelation 7, verse 9.
Which no man could number.
No man can number. And John is asking, where are these coming from? And then he was answered, from a time of tribulation.
Yeah, great tribulation.
This is
the time.
That's the time. So, after that time, now you are reading that paragraph. Let's hear more. We should be preparing for ourselves.
We have to.
We are started now. We started with COVID, and next what did we come with the Delta? Next it's now another one mutation from there. Mutation now is Omicron. Now is everything. It will continue pouring, not raining, not only pouring but raining.
Because Christ is the
because
beginning of
it's
sorrow.
the four winds being released. But your salvation, your rescue only is into doing what God wants.
Amen.
And getting that seal, the 3 seals, so that you'll be protected in the time of trouble such as never was.
Absolutely true.
Read on, let's hear.
So the symbol of the woman sitting on the beast will meet its fulfillment when that religious federation shall make an alliance with the powers of the world.
Right?
Such an act would give the woman full control of the entire beasts, horns
Right.
and heads,
What we've been
the
saying.
whole world.
So, because these 4 winds have been released, so they are released in this time, in the 2 horned beasts. So that will be a time of trouble, such as never was.
At that time, the following scripture will meet its perfect fulfillment. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive the mark in their right hand,
Right.
or in their foreheads.
That's the time for the
And that
666.
no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast. Exactly how you say it, Elder.
Right. I think for time's sake, we'll leave it at that point. Revelation 17 is so wide,
It's
and
very
we will
vast
continue,
and
because unless we
complex.
want to just brief it, it doesn't help anyone. We need to study every line of communication,
Absolutely, yes.
so that we get it slow but sure into our heads, and when we study it, it is sealing us with the truth, and we get ready for the kingdom, because the time is very near.
It's very limited.
It's very short and very near. We need to fortify ourselves in the messages, in the prophetic messages, which wind the whole Bible and make them a small story that you can talk to and relate. Once you know the Bible from Genesis
To
to
Revelation.
Revelation and all the prophecies, you can tell us a good story in just a few sentences.
What shall I say, Elder? I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
You have you have revamped my spirituality right now. My mind is thinking, because of everything that has been going on. Sometimes as human beings we've got a tendency of just relaxing, and just flowing with the tide. But if prophecies like this, they come to revamp your spiritual life, and we're so grateful for it.
Yeah.
Honestly, we are so grateful. We wish God continues to use you and to bless you with more wisdom, so that as you continue sharing these things, the righteous will be sealed and be prepared for the kingdom.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and we really appreciate of having you tonight on this platform. Thank you, brethren, for tuning in, and you have heard all for yourselves. Let's come back again next Sabbath, same time. Next Sabbath preparation on a Friday like this, same time, so that we get blessed with the messages that come from God. May God bless you and wish you all a blessed Sabbath.
Blessed Sabbath.